Hello and Happy New Year's, everyone. I don't know what you guys have been doing. I hope you've been playing games. I know that I certainly have. Last night we rescheduled game night to be, well, last night. We played El Grande, followed by 7 or 8 rounds of One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Absolute blast. Hope you guys had fun as well. This is my first video of the new year. Not for any particular reason am I doing this one, just because it happened to come up yesterday. This is a response to Tom Vasel from the Dice Tower, his video about Food Chain Magnate, which I don't know if you've seen the video yet. He launched it, he put it up yesterday. Great video, covers very in detail why he doesn't like Food Chain Magnate. Now, to begin with, this is not in any way a video trashing Tom or the Dice Tower. I love the Dice Tower. I use the videos for half of my own stuff. And I mean, speaking for myself, I find my tastes most align with Sam, and I'm going to miss him when he's gone. But at the same time, I appreciate all the viewpoints that Sam, Z, and Tom all bring to the table, and I really enjoy what they do for the community in general and their taste in games. I love the Dice Tower. This is not a bashing video at all. That being said, while I do love the Dice Tower, I also love Food Chain Magnate. And if I have to pick between the Dice Tower and Food Chain Magnate, I am picking Food Chain Magnate. There's plenty of video reviewers out there, although Dice Tower is up there. But Food Chain Magnate, I have no game in my collection that is this amazing. I mean, this is not my top game. Longer story there. We'll cover that when I do my top 10 of 2020 or whatnot. But it is one of my favorite games. And this is not meant to be clear, like in addition to my whole disclaimer, I love the Dice Tower, all that, this is not meant to be a video where, how dare you be wrong, how dare you have an alternate opinion. I really appreciate Tom's opinion. I also tend to be in alignment with him. There are too many great games out there. There's too many great games. I don't have time for myself, speaking for myself, I don't have time to sit there and play a game 4 times because someone told me it's good, you just have to invest in it. There are too many games that hook me from the first play to waste that time spent on seeing if it's right for me, giving it a 3rd play, a 4th play, trying to see if it really grows on me. I've done this with a lot of games. I've done it with the Great Western Trail. I've done it with, I probably should have put a list together before I started rattling things off, but there are a significant number of games where I have given it that 3rd or 4th play, and sometimes it actually does work, and sometimes it doesn't. These days, more often, I don't get to that 3rd or 4th play. More often, I try a game. If it hooks me in, I'm happy to give it a 2nd play. Over time, I'll see if it stays in the collection. But if I don't like it after 1 play, you're usually gone at that point. There's too many games, too many amazing games, to see whether that game that did not hook me will hook me. So, this is not a critique of Tom Vasel. It's not a critique of the Dice Tower. And it's not meant to be a disproof of, this is why you should play it, this is why you should like it, and all that. Rather, the point of this video is to address anyone else who is interested in Food Chain Magnate, anyone else who does want to see what the hype is about, and to see for themselves whether this video is for you, whether this game is for you. So to that end, I will address Tom's critiques of Food Chain Magnate, and the way I feel about each of those critiques, and which ones I agree with, which ones I feel differently about, and why Food Chain Magnate is one of my favorite games. So to begin with, Tom starts, this is no particular order. I try to follow his video in rough order, but if I get it wrong, bear with me. To begin with, Tom talked about how you're in each other's faces. That's true. If that's not for you, that's not for you. Honestly, I'm a little surprised. I have to try to think through which games Tom likes. But, I mean, yes, you're in each other's faces. But you're in each other's faces no differently than Kemet, than Blood Rage, than Cyclades, than Mythic Battles, than any game with head-to-head conflict. You are in each other's faces. That is the nature of the game. If that's not for you, that's not for you. If you want something a little softer, you want to play a game like Istanbul or who knows what, there's many amazing games in which Terraforming Mars, an amazing game with minimal player interaction. There are many games to pick from that you're not in each other's faces. Food Chain Magnate, you're 100% in each other's faces. Whether or not that's your type of game to begin with, that's a call you have to make. The bad components. Tom addressed the fact that the game is, he didn't comment on the price, but is a ridiculously expensive game considering the junk components that you get for a game of that price. This game could be priced at $30 and people would still be debating whether it was overpriced. I can't believe the amount of garbage that Terraforming Mars gets about its components compared to Food Chain Magnate, which is 2.5, 3 times the price, and the components are just as bad. The minimalistic, there's barely anything there. It does not look like a premium game. This is a common problem with splatter games in general. That's the design they go for. That's the aesthetic they go for. I buy into splatter games despite the minimalism, despite the lack of a quality feeling, on the table. I will choose a good game over good components any day of the week, despite all my miniature heavy games and everything I like. A good game is first and foremost. So yes, I agree with Tom. Components are could be far better, needs an upgrade kit. Still love the game, still worth it. Tom's next complaint was that experienced players will win and losers will lose. Now, to be clear, he didn't have a problem with that inherently. I think he had a problem with the level to which that is. So, like, for instance, in his next point, he covered how it wasn't just an issue of experienced players will win and losers will lose. 800 points, like he lost by 800 points, which he thought was insane and depressing and demoralizing. And if you don't know that, if you don't know that going in, I can see how that would be the case. But even with experienced Food Chain Magnate players, you might see scores like that. Food Chain Magnate, even though there is technically a point system in place, judged by the level of your money, don't view it as such. Don't view it as a point system at all. This is not like Blood Rage, where being swept below everyone else actually means you played pretty poorly. In Food Chain Magnate, a slight misstep will mean someone else will win, and you should view that win as binary. It's just the nature of the Monopoly and the way the game plays out, and the way the slight misstep can cause you to just drag all the money from all the players. It is not a point scoring system. It happens to have a point, but as a binary win, you win or you lose. The amount you win or you lose by is just a factor of the nature of the economics of the game. You could have an incredibly tight game, incredibly good players, and one player who played better than the other player might lose by far more points or money just through the nature of the game. It is not... In Blood Rage, if you end up with half the points of the leader, it does reflect on how well you played. It does. I mean, it's a big gap. In Food Chain Magnate, if you end up with $100 and someone else ends up with $800, sure, the other person won, but it does not in any way negatively reflect on you. And I think that's an important point to consider. I was happy to see Tom's video. I never thought about warning people about this with Food Chain Magnate. I do warn people that experienced players will win and losers will lose. And going back to that point, I think Tom's group did him a disservice. You should never, in my opinion, play Food Chain Magnate the full game on the first time with experienced players and inexperienced players. You want to do is you want to play the intro game. You want to take that intro game, you want to warn people about all the pitfalls of how to play the game, and then you want to say, okay, great, now let's sit down, let's play the intro game. Let's play for half an hour, let's play for an hour, and get the gaming system in place. It doesn't matter how much I warn you. It has no bearing on the game. There is no comparison to playing Food Chain Magnate after knowing how to play versus not knowing how to play. That first half an hour, that first hour, as you see how impactful every decision can be, how not demoralizing, but how incredible each decision matters, and how there's no way to garner the impact of your actions until you've played the game, regardless of the warnings your friends give you. I think anyone who plays a full game of Food Chain Magnate with their friend who's new to it is doing themselves and their friend and the game a disservice. Play it the half-hour game, play the hour game, just give them the flow of the game, and then jump straight back into it. They may still lose, but they'll have a lot more fun because they actually know what's going on, and they didn't just commit 3-4 hours to a game where they were swept in round one. So this goes to his next point, which is 30 minutes in, he knew he couldn't win. I mean, yeah, that's what will happen if you did not play a learning game. That's not your fault. It's not the game's fault. I mean, it is. You could argue it's a flaw in the game, and I will grant you that. Splatter games are very punishing to new players. Generally, that I do view that as a flaw. I do. I acknowledge that as a flaw. It is a good enough game that I am willing to overlook the flaw and work around the flaw because I'd rather experience this. I'd rather have this in my collection. But it's definitely a flaw. But yeah, 30 minutes in with the new players, you could not win. That is the nature of the game. Someone else knows what the milestones are worth. Someone else knows what the pathway of which hires and which upgrades to take, and you don't. You haven't played this game. There's no reason you should know. There's no reason you could know, and this game is punishing. This is not a game where you just teach people and then boom. Like Blood Rage, I can teach somebody, they can be in there, they'll probably lose, but they'll have a great game. They'll have a good first game, they can gather it, they can pick it up. Food Chain Magnate, you need to have the learning game to understand the consequences of your actions. You need that. Tom's next complaint was the theme doesn't make sense. I'll give you that. I completely agree. I acknowledge that it's completely meaningless that you get these milestones that are these competitive advantages that your opponents don't have. do what you want with that information. If you really care about the theme, you can argue it away. You can say it doesn't really mean that you got the refrigerator and your opponent doesn't. It just means that your refrigerator is always better. You were the first to market. You came up with a better patent innovation. Of course, your friends got a refrigerator. Yours is more efficient, and through the nature of the game, it's abstracted that yours matters more. If you care about that, listen, I hear you. I do. I value theme. I value minis. I value components. And really, honestly, that should tell you a lot about this game. I mean, like, anyone who follows me knows how much I love mini-heavy games. I'm someone who loves to pull out Zombicide, Cthulhu, Rum and Bones. I should probably mention something. It's not Simon. Endeavor, Age of Sail, Brass. I love quality games with quality components. I think they are a service to the hobby. I think they pull people in. They increase your immersion. And that should tell you how good this game is. Because the theme is lacking. The components are garbage. And I love it. If knowing me and my taste and how much those extras matter to me, I still like this game and I still want to play this game, that should tell you a lot about how good this game is. I like it despite those flaws. The CFO is broken. That was another complaint. There's a card, a milestone you can get. No, not a milestone, a hire you can get that basically turns your CEO into a CEO into a CFO, and it increases your revenue. The CFO concept, Tom's friends seem to believe it's broken. I don't, and my group doesn't. What I can tell you is the last time we were doing a hiring tree, and two players, basically myself and another player, were clearly going to get a hire. And we were choosing between the CFO and another card. And both I and my friend were like, we don't really care. Whichever one of us gets, the other one will get the other. And both of us were torn about which one was the better pick. And I passed up on the CFO. I ended up taking the other card, letting my friend take the CFO, and I won the game. Does that mean it's a single use case? Don't get me wrong. Stats are not a single use case. But we were both torn on which one mattered more, and I let the CFO go, and then I still won. I do believe that many things in this game are broken. But like many of these games, like Kemet, like Blood Rage, like whatever, things that are equally broken make for an amazing game. Because it's not about something's broken, it's about the fact that you have to choose which broken thing will align most with your strategy and take you to the win. Sure, the CFO is broken. 70 things in this game are broken. I love it. I don't have a problem with the CFO at all. I would never proxy that away. I shouldn't say never. If I had enough games where clearly it was broken, we can have a discussion, but I don't believe that's the case at all. I also highly recommend what's it called? There's a guy, I cannot remember. The guy who teaches, Rodney. There we go. Rodney, who teaches, he had a video about what a game being broken or not and what it means and how people walk into a game and after one play declare it broken. You can't do that. And honestly, if I had one critique and only one critique of this of Tom's opinion in this video, it's that fact that I do believe that Tom should know better than calling something broken after one play. Everything else, I'm completely with him. I'm completely with not even giving the game a second chance if it wasn't a fit for you. But that aspect, I don't believe it's broken, and I think his friends are wrong. Tom's next complaint was all about getting there first. When you get there first, you get the milestones, and if you don't ever get those same milestones. There's no coming back from it. I agree. That's the nature of the game. Again, Kemet, Blood Rage, any of these other games, sometimes when you get there first, you get a competitive advantage no one else has. That is amazing. If you've played Kemet and you know the feeling of grabbing that creature that can, jump forward 2 spaces and kill 2 guys, meanwhile someone else has the guard that gives them a $1 discount on everything. Having a competitive advantage that no one else has makes these games feel so amazing. It makes your experience, it's not just a question of, hey, I got there first and I paid a little premium and now you caught up. It's no, I am powerful. I have these things that put together that combine for an amazing game, an amazing experience, and I think that adds to the game. It doesn't take away from it. It could be that the lack of theme around it bothers you more. I don't know, but it's getting there first is one of the reasons this game is so amazing. With a few turns, your pathways and your competitive advantages have been determined, and you now need to work with those competitive advantages. Steep learning curve. Tom talked about a steep learning curve, and I completely agree. There is a steep learning curve. I do not believe that this game takes 7 plays and someone who's played it 16 times should never play with someone who's played it 5 times. No, I don't believe that at all. I believe that your first game or two, consider a learning curve. After that, if you're playing with people who are used to this genre of games, people who can hold their own, I think you'll do just fine. It's like any of these games. My general requirement for a game to be in my collection is that within 2 or 3 plays, everyone is basically on the same playing field. It doesn't mean, obviously, you can't 100% compare someone who's played it 10 times to someone who's played it 3 times, but I'm not looking for 100%. I'm looking for people to be able to feel they're in the game after 2 or 3 plays. Ideally, in the first play, I want an experienced player to be able to pick it up and be a force for, a force, to be competition in that game. I don't require it after 1 play. Within 2 or 3 plays, I think it's essential, because I don't play games enough. I don't play repeated games enough to be able to require that someone needs 4 plays under the belt to be competitive. I don't, and I've gotten rid of games for that reason. I don't believe Food Chain Magnate has that aspect to it. I think the steep learning curve is taken care of after a game or 2. It could be I'm wrong. I've only played, for all my love of Food Chain Magnate, I've only played this guy maybe 5-6 times. It's been new to me in 2020, but it's incredible. And finally, the rich get richer. I do and don't agree with that. The rich do get richer in this game. But part of what I love about it, part of what every single one of those 5 plays, part of what I've loved about this game is the fact that somebody gets some sort of construct of location of their restaurants and discounts and products that they're making, and they somehow seem to have this clear economic edge where they have it, nobody else can get them, and yet a turn or 2 later, someone pivots and they no longer have that. A typical game of Food Chain Magnate in my group has the person who's dominating not dominating 2 turns later, and then that keeps cycling until someone does eventually get to a point where you can't stop them. That definitely happens. But the first half of the game, or even more than that, the first two-thirds of the game, that's not clear. This game is all about pivoting. This game is all about, oh no, you have the advantage in the burgers and you started advertising burgers. So meanwhile, I'm going to grab 3 marketing directors and start loading up with soda and then putting the soda on the houses and getting there first. Or maybe I'll grab a pricing discount. I'll grab 2 pricing discounts. There are so many aspects to the ways you can attack the economic state of the board that we haven't found that the rich just get richer. At a certain point, yes. That's true in every game. Once you get to a certain point, someone who's clearly winning will clearly win. But generally in Food Chain Magnate, I would say the first 2/3 of the game are anyone's game. The last third, yes, at that point you're starting to pull a little bit behind if you haven't really made a dent in your competition. Those really address Tom's complaints and why he doesn't like it. Overall, I love Food Chain Magnate. One of the reasons I love Food Chain Magnate is the way I describe it is it's economic warfare. It calls itself an economic game. In theory, it's not. It's just warfare. It's just tactical. I need this ability. I'm going to attack you there. I'm going to pivot and move my troops in from behind. Except your troops aren't troops. Your troops are a marketing director who's throwing ads across the board, and you're moving your restaurant over here, and you're grabbing pricing discounts. This game is incredible. It is so tense. My main complaint against Food Chain Magnate is you need a good night's sleep when you're done. It is mentally exhausting. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love that in a game. It is so tense. It is so cutthroat. But every move you make has such a deep impact on how the board's going to play out, how the game state's going to change. It is draining to play this game. If that sounds like too much for you, then it's too much for you. At the end of the day, games have different game weights for a reason. Some games are more mentally draining. Some games take more out of you. Food Chain Magnate takes it out of you because of how good it is, because of how tight it is, because of how tense it is, because of how much each decision matters. I love Food Chain Magnate. I highly recommend giving it a try at some point in some way, with the understanding of Tom's complaints, where they're coming from, and really how you should approach the game the first time. If your friend who's played Food Chain Magnate pulls it out and says, hey, let's sit down for the next 3 to 4 hours and play this game, tell him no. Tell him you want to play it for an hour and then restart. Just set that in motion from the get-go. You will not regret it. Well, I can't say that. Maybe you will regret it. At the end of the day, Food Chain Magnate might not be for you. But there's a way to give a game a good shot, and I feel bad that Tom's friends did not give him that opportunity, that to really get what Food Chain Magnate is all about. Tom, I love your videos. I think you're incredible. Thank you so much. I'd love to meet you in person one day. I believe you actually met my partner, Dan, at one point back at one of these conferences. But in any case, I completely understand not wanting to give it another shot. If you do and your opinion changes, I'd love to hear about it. Other than that, this video is brought to you by Board Game Co. Board Game Co. Buy, sell, and trade your way to a better collection. Check out our website, Board Game Co. We currently have a New Year's sale going on, which may or may not be much longer by the time you watch this video. And yeah, reach out to me to trade games on Board Game Geek or directly on Board Game Co. We're happy to be here for your gaming needs. Other than that, subscribe over here and check out one of our other videos over here. Thanks so much and Happy New Year's.